Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another special episode of Raw and Rare Podcast. This podcast is dedicated to promote the endeavors of raw and rare individuals and groups in the field of music, arts, literature, and culture in all genres and platforms who have, in one way or another, made an impact in the community they belong. We aim to share their experiences with the intention to inform and uplift the viewers and listeners' senses. So stay tuned for more exciting episodes this season two. And today, as we mentioned, we have a special guest. She's a classically trained Winnipeg violinist and has played music since she could talk and loves to improvise with other musicians. She's involved with the folk classical new wave collective here in Winnipeg called Half Man, Half Elf, and she has visited the Philippines three times in 2012, 2014, and 2016. And there's a fourth one that's overdue. In her daily life, she is a writer and communications professional, and she has contributed many artist bios and press releases for the Manila based indie record label Lily Stars Records. Her involvement with the Winnipeg Filipino music community prompted her to start studying the Filipino language, of course, with the encouragement of her Filipino friends and bandmates, Alfie and Giboy. When not working or playing the violin, she has been involved with some filmmaking projects, including a collaboration with the Winnipeg poet Squigs for the 2016 F Words Film and Poetry event, and last screened a semi biographical film about her late father in the Winnipeg Film Group's One Take Super 8 Festival in 2018, for which she used an original song for the soundtrack. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's all welcome to the show Miss Christine Mazur. Hello, Christine.
Hello, magandang gabi, magandang
Oh,
araw for everybody elsewhere other than Winnipeg.
yes, magandang
Goodness
gabi.
knows. Yeah.
Hello.
Kumusta ka, Julius?
Mabuti naman, Christine.
Mhm.
Yeah. Mga
All
kaibigan,
right.
yeah, Christine Mazur here. She's been a friend of mine here in the local Winnipeg music scene. We'll see each other at shows. Very rare, because we wouldn't really talk really on gigs, But this, I thought this is the only time that I can talk to her, and you know, for her to share her rich experience in the Winnipeg Filipino music community, as well as her travel endeavors, uh, writing endeavors, and all other stuff that we need to know about Christine. So once again, thank you so much, Christine, for making time today.
Sal- Maraming salamat, Julius.
No
I
problem,
really
Christine.
appreciate it. It's an honor to talk to you and
No, the
share
honor is mine,
stories.
Thank you so much. As we all know, mga kaibigan, Christine here, our friend Christine, she's been learning Tagalog through she mentioned earlier in our conversation before this, she's been learning Tagalog through learning Tagalog songs. Same way with us Filipinos, right? Like we like on myself particularly personally, I learned English first before by learning English songs, and that's yeah, goes the same as well for Christine, right?
Oo. At
Oh,
yeah, talaga,
right.
talaga.
Talaga. And
Yeah.
yeah, guys, before everything else, I would like to thank all the viewers in Winnipeg, in the Philippines, in the States, and all over the world. Thanks for being our regular viewers and listeners to this Raw and Rare podcast. Christine. So yeah, Christine here we mentioned that she was the violinist for the local group here in Winnipeg, Half Man, Half Elf, with Alfie Veramelia and Mr. Gilbert Giboy Trilliana. They've guested in our podcast before, So Christine, could you tell us how you started, with Half Man, Half Elf with Alfie and Giboy?
Sure. I'll try and be quick, but one thing always leads to another, right?
Sure, just go
So
on.
in okay,
Yeah.
so I'm classically trained violinist. but I was starting to play folk music and I was looking for an outlet for where I could play. And back in 2000, I bumped into an old friend who said, you know, you can audition to busk at the Forks. You know, you earn some money playing music, and
Mhm.
it also introduces you to other musicians who are maybe hanging out at the Forks. That is the Forks National Historic Site here in Winnipeg, which is a sort of big outdoor shopping mall and meeting place and tourist site.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they always audition once a year. They would audition musicians to come and play outside or inside and entertain the visitors to that. And so I went and auditioned. I got a busker's license, and then I started busking there. And then I met this one busker I would jam with regularly. His name was Idrissa. He was from Sierra Leone, and he was performing at a charity concert at the West End Cultural Center here, a live music venue here in Winnipeg. And so he invited me to come and play with him there. And I went after sound check. I was wandering around and I met this fellow named Alfie, and he said, "I heard you sound check. Would you come and play with my band? We've been looking for a classical component, like a classical instrument. I love classical music, but we're a new wave, uh,
Mhm.
post punk kind of band, but I want a classical sound.
All right.
And your violin would really bring that." So I was like, oh, okay, we'll see. Because some people have asked me
Mhm.
to play, to jam with them, and they never show up. But here, sure enough, later that week, Alfie showed up at my door with a CD.
Mhm.
I came to rehearsals, and next thing you know, we're performing on breakfast television.
Wow.
And that was what, 2010, 2011, and I started playing with Half Man, Half Elf back then. And then we played more and more gigs together, and that's right when I started. That's when Guy Boy was still the keyboardist,
Yeah.
and I got to rehearse with him and play with him a little bit. We became friends, and then he was kind of on his way out when I was just joining.
Okay.
But we remained friends since then, and he's a really solid, amazing keyboardist. If you haven't heard him play, he is so good at improvising and
Yeah.
picking up and just, whatever you want to play, he'll be there right behind
I
you.
know.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
we've collaborated together on other things. When I play solo different places and I'm nervous about it, I'll ask Gibo, will you come and accompany me? And he's always there for me. So it was a meeting Alfie was opened the door to meeting other really awesome Winnipeg musicians in the Filipino community. So yeah.
Wow. That's so
Oh,
nice
and
to
then,
hear. Yeah. Sure.
yeah. Or should I tell you about? So one day in like the fall of 2011, Alfie said, half jokingly,
Mhm.
uh, do you want to come to the Philippines with myself and my family? I haven't been back in years, and I think it's time to go." And I said, "Sure, I'm game," because
Mhm.
I'd been traveling a fair bit
Yeah.
already. I was like, okay. And he's like, oh boy, now I better buy tickets and we better do something. And so he organized his reunion
The
concert with
reunion.
his
Yeah.
Half Life, Half Death. Yeah, the
Yes.
big reunion
Yeah.
concert.
Yeah.
And yeah, and that, one thing led to another. And so through that first trip in January of 2012, Alfie had arranged this big reunion concert with Half Life, Half Death in collaboration with Requiem Records and Lily Stars Records, or
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Requiem Rising, the production company with Monks Monkeo and Lily Stars Records, which is headed by Clem Castro, lead singer of Orange and Lemons, who was at that time um, doing the Camera Walls project.
Yes. Yeah.
So through Lily Stars, and so that's how I met Clem,
Okay.
through
Yeah.
that,
Through that,
domino
you
effect.
started there. You started there with
Yeah,
Alfie
yeah,
inviting you to go come to the
yeah,
Philippines. Yeah. Hey,
yeah.
Christine. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Like we mentioned, you started to visit the Philippines in 2012. This was the time with you were with Alfie, right? To
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went the first time January to February. It was about
Okay.
mid-January to mid-February. We went for 4 weeks that first
Oh,
time.
that and yeah,
Yeah.
a very rich experience there. Mga
Yeah.
kaibigan, yeah, my encounter with with Half Man Half Elf. The first time I saw them was if you could still remember there was a gig organized at Gmail's restaurant in Winnipeg.
Oh,
Yeah, and then we played that show too. We
yeah.
were, yeah, that was in 2013. And then the first
Oh,
time I talked with Alfie, and then the first time I followed your band, Half Man Half Elf,
oh,
and then that started my relation with Mr. Alfie, and then with Giboy. You know,
yeah,
I had a jam with him for the first time
yeah.
at uh, an event at
Uh-huh.
204 Live Music by Mr. Jason Paredes in his jam
Oh,
place, so, and then,
oh, right.
yeah, and with Christine here, mga kaibigan, I had the chance to play with Christine and Alfie as the halflings. If you can still remember that, we had a
Yeah.
one-off gig at a Filipino fundraiser.
Was that
Some
last year?
I think that was 2 years ago already.
Oh,
It's
was
been
it? It
that
was the
long.
concert.
Yeah.
Was it the concert for peace?
So yeah, the concert for peace. That was it. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah, we've been planning. Alfie and I were planning to do some projects with Christine, with Giboy, and with Mr. Gil Ignacio. Some
yeah,
sort of group, and we'll come up with something new. But then yeah, things didn't go as planned. But then we're still all here. We're still making music.
yeah,
Christine, yeah, you
yeah,
mentioned about Lily Stars Records. We all know
yeah.
here you write press releases and bios for artists for Lily Stars. Can you tell us a little bit about Lily Stars?
Okay. Do
Yeah.
you want to know how that happened?
Yeah, sure.
It's
Yeah.
because of me and my big mouth. So I have a background in English literature,
Yeah.
and I studied. I have a master's degree in English literature. I do writing and stuff.
Yeah.
And so Clem was running Lily Stars, and so after I met him in January, February 2012, we started up this conversation on Facebook that we just kind of never finished
Mm-hmm.
talking to each other. And I was once reading something on Lily Star's records, and I was accidentally, oopsies, correcting his grammar,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and or like just making suggestions and saying,
Some technical
you could
support.
write it this way or technical support. And so then he asked me if I would write something. I think that's how it went. It was so long ago now. He asked me, "Would you try writing? Do you want to interview this band that were producing their song or were releasing their album or whatever it was?"
Yeah, okay.
And then next thing you know, I'm writing artist bios
Mm-hmm.
and interviewing them by email questions. And because I had worked at a book publishing company before, where I had to send out like artist bios, for the authors. And so I adapted that interview format because you needed information about your artist or your writer
Yeah, yeah.
in order to promote them. So I
Sure,
had
sure.
the same tools at my disposal to
Mm-hmm.
do the same thing for these musicians that
Okay.
Lily Stars was producing. So I started writing reviews to promote their albums, and so this involved listening and analyzing their music and being introduced to new types of music.
Yes.
And so so because of writing, Clem invited me to ask to write these things for Lily Stars. And so if you look at the Lily Stars Records website and scroll back a few years, you'll see some
Yeah.
stuff that I had written.
Okay.
Uh,
For the artist,
so
right? Yeah.
artist bios or album
Album reviews.
explanations. Yeah,
Yeah.
album reviews or like back cover copy,
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
But those are big things for an artist, right? A write up would be a
Yeah,
two-line write up. Well, it's a big thing for
yeah.
artists, right?
Yeah, well, like you have to listen to the whole album and really
Yeah, exactly.
listen and listen for hours, and then you have to compress that down into two sentences that'll
Hmm.
make the audience decide to buy that
Yeah.
product. So,
Yeah.
to like with I would have to read novel manuscripts, the entire novel manuscript, and compress what the book is about into a paragraph to convince the reader to buy that book.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
same thing, I was writing
Yeah.
for the Lily Stars artists. So that was how we
Mhm.
became more friends, and how I got involved with
Oh,
Lily Stars. And
Lily
then
Stars. Yeah.
and then in November of 2012, so about, what is that, like 10 months after I had met Clem in the Philippines,
Mm-hmm.
he was coming to visit his brother in the States in Los Angeles. And I have an aunt and cousins in Los Angeles. And I said, well, why don't I go down and visit you?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know when I'm going to be in the Philippines next time. So why don't I come down and visit you, and we can hang out and play music and go hiking? So
Yeah.
that's started our a tradition
Mm-hmm.
of every time we're on the same continent, we try and meet up and go hiking and play a gig or two together. So
Yeah.
we did that then,
Mm-hmm.
and
This
then
was
ever since,
yeah, in
yeah,
2012 with Clem Castro of Orange and Lemons, and what's this other group, the Dragonfly Collector and Camera Walls, right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. hmm
So
Dragon, yeah. Sorry.
yeah, sure. With Lily Stars Records, you're still writing for
Not so
artists
much
right now.
anymore this year.
Mhm.
My job really took over my life, and then taking care of family.
Okay.
My elderly parents.
Yeah.
My dad passed away last year, and then my mom has not been well, so that's kind of taken over a lot of that. So I can't be involved with Lily Stars as I would have liked. And also, as you will see, if you've heard the news this month, Lily Stars is releasing a huge
Hmm. Yeah.
roster of new artists and new.
Yes. Yeah,
There's so
I've
much
seen that
going on
one.
there, and so
Actually,
I just,
actually, we'll be
yeah.
guesting a Lily Star artist sometime this
Oh,
week. So
oh, that's so awesome.
keep it a
Yeah,
secret for now.
okay. Don't tell
Yeah,
anybody.
yeah.
No,
Christy,
I'm,
you
yeah.
mentioned about we're sorry about hearing about the
Mm,
passing of your dad, but you
mhm.
did a semi biographical film about him, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, filmmaking is kind of crept up on me. So I don't know if you guys know this, but once upon a time I was a lawyer. I practiced law,
Yeah.
uh, and then it wasn't for me. It's not to say I threw that opportunity away, but I wanted, I couldn't do it. There's just, it wasn't for me. I
Mhm.
felt like a square peg in a round hole. It just
Okay,
didn't work.
I
You
understand.
know,
Yeah.
it didn't work. And so I went back to school and did the creative communications program at Red River College from,
Okay.
and I graduated in 2009 from that.
Hmm.
And during that program, I spent a lot of time behind a camera and learning how to use a video camera, a film camera, and
I
I
see.
took a course in television documentary filmmaking. And ever since then, I've been a
Yeah.
member of uh, either Video Pool or the Winnipeg Film Group, and have tried my hand at filmmaking. So in 2018,
Yeah.
there was this competition, oh, I don't know, a competition or activity that the
Mhm.
Winnipeg Film Group put on, a one take
One
Super
take
8
Super 8.
film.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Super 8 cameras are old fashioned film cameras. That 8 millimeter film. My
Okay.
dad had an old camera, and my dad had been really into filmmaking. He had dreams of being a filmmaker, but then he raised a family instead and left that
Oh,
behind. So,
okay.
and I felt so sad that he didn't like this. His Super 8 camera stayed in the basement for 40 years while
Yeah.
he was, being a dad, or doing other things, and it
Yep.
was forgotten. So I thought, oh my goodness, I've got to revive this
Okay.
and do a film for him. And I thought, I'll do a film about my
With
dad.
that same camera.
I tried,
Hmm.
that was my first hope, but the camera was so corroded, and
Okay.
it didn't work. So I
Okay.
used it as a prop in the
All
film
right.
instead.
Okay.
And if you see the film, it's on my Vimeo. It's called My Father's or
My,
Dreams of
my father's
Dreams,
dreams.
My Father's Dreams.
Yeah.
And I used the his camera as a prop for him to hold.
Yeah.
He was still with us at the time, and he
Oh, okay.
willingly took part in the film. So it covers a man's life from when he's a small child to when he's a frustrated adult, wishing he could find his happy place in life. And then it shows a man out in nature,
Mm-hmm.
and then it shows him as an old man. And so
Okay.
the child was played by my nephew Daniel,
Oh,
and
I see.
yeah, and then the middle-aged man who is frustrated with his life was played by my boyfriend Bradley,
All
and
right.
then the old man obviously played by my dad.
Oh,
and
it
and
really is. Yeah, guys, you should see,
yeah.
watch these short films made by Christine. She's been involved with the filmmaking projects. Since 2016. There's also the film Olivia, and of course the My
Mhm.
Father's Dreams, and a lot more. If you'll go into Christine's bio, you'll see all these links to the movie she made, that she produced and directed as well. So we could see here Christine has been so much involved in music, arts, filmmaking, and what else? Let's talk about your travel. You love traveling, right?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
you mentioned about the travel in the Philippines with Alfie the first time.
yeah.
There was one travel in the Philippines which you had a very memorable experience, with a very special guy.
Oh.
His name is Mr. Dong Abay of Iano. Can you tell us the story?
Okay.
Yeah.
So first of all, background information. I first met Dong Abai, as many of us in
Mhm.
would have, at that what was it called, Rockstar Nation tour. Do you remember when that was? 2014 or something?
Yeah, around that
Uh,
time, Rockstar Nation tour in Winnipeg. Yeah,
yeah,
and
and
Yano was there. The youth.
is yeah.
Mhm.
So Dong Abai, the youth, and Glenn
Two,
Jacinto from
Glenn
Teeth.
Jacinto. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they all came through Winnipeg and played a big concert at the Philippine Cultural Center down on Keewatin,
Yes. Yeah.
many of you remember that. And so several local bands opened, including Half Man, Half Elf. And so we played there. And then Boy was playing with another group at that time.
Yeah.
And so he was there. And so we met up after, and we were watching from the back of the audience together. We were watching Yano, or we were watching Dong Abai. It was the lead singers. Uh, and I was just like in awe of his tunes, like his
Yeah.
songs. They were, and his presence on stage, right? He
Yeah.
started out wearing like a winter parka. This show was
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
January, minus
Yeah.
40
It's a
Celsius,
minus
right?
40. Yeah. Weather.
He
Yeah.
ended up, and even in Winnipeg, Sir Dangabai did his usual thing. If you've seen him live,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
stripped down to his jeans
Yeah.
and
Dong
bare feet or
Abay. We
whatnot.
all know Dong
Yeah,
Abay. Yeah. Anywhere.
yeah. And so I was watching him. I thought, this guy is amazing. His songs are amazing. And Giboy was translating for me,
Mhm.
saying, this song is about this going on and that
Mhm.
going
Mhm.
on,
Yeah.
chinelas and
Yes.
SM. And and I heard this music. I thought, I gotta listen to more of this guy's music, and so I went and was YouTubing the music of Yano, and I discovered the song SM, which seemed really catchy and playable. It had four chords, so I
Mhm.
thought, I'm gonna learn this because I want to try and learn to speak Tagalog
Yes.
better, and learning the language through music, as we talked about. This song really
Mm,
opened it up for me, and learning the lyrics and translating every lyric and listening to it over and over and understanding what everything meant.
yeah.
I learned that song. And then we started playing it with half man, half elf. So I had performed it a few times here in Winnipeg. And then when I went to the Philippines the last time, uh, Clem asked me to perform with him, as is our tradition. So I was going to join him with his Dragonfly Collector solo act at 70s Bistro in Quezon City. If many
Yep.
of you have been there.
Yep.
So we had a gig something like January 12th, 2016. And I asked Clem, so can I try playing this song at some point during your set if you want to take a break? And he said, sure, yeah, you can do that. And I had no idea that Kakoy Legazpi, Clem's guitarist for Dragonfly Collector, would be coming right from rehearsals with Sir Dong Abai.
Yep.
And so I'm there at 70s Bistro, and Kakoy walks in with the man himself. And I'm like, oh boy, I'm kind of nervous now. Like I was going to play his song. So I went over to him and I said, sir, you don't remember me. We met in Winnipeg a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I was planning to perform your song tonight. Do you mind if I do that? Like
Hmm.
you wrote the song, it's your song. Is
Yeah.
that okay with you? He said, oh, yes, please. It would be an honor. Please do.
Wow.
Okay. Okay. So the time came, we're playing along. I'm playing my fiddle, my comfort zone.
Yeah.
Clem turns to me and he says, okay, Christine, here, it's your turn. Take it away. Hands me his baby Martin.
Oh, whoa.
And I'm like, oh,
Okay.
every nerve
Okay.
is going crazy.
But then
And
you're there with Mr. Dong Abay, the man himself, with the band.
oh,
Yeah.
well,
Like right here,
yeah,
mga kaibigan, we're showing the picture right now. Here's the
yeah.
picture of that event. Yeah.
So I started by myself with Kakoy and Clem's childhood friend Venji Gatmeton on the bass, and then uh,
Yes. Miss
Pat
Pat
on the drum,
Sarabia on
Pat
drums. Yes.
Sarabia on the
Yes.
drums. And so I'm singing along. I'm like, okay, don't screw up, don't screw up. The man himself is in the room. And he was at the back of the audience, right?
Yeah.
Standing there with Clem. And then, so I got through the first verse and the first chorus, and then starting in on the second verse, suddenly Sir Dong is right beside me in the microphone. We're sharing the microphone, singing his song together. And that was just the
Wow.
most amazing experience
Yeah.
uh, to have. And I was like, okay, keep it together, keep it together. And I did. Somewhere there is video. I think it's lost somewhere in Clem's collection of video clips, uh, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Uh,
A
anyway,
very
it was the
wonderful
most.
experience. Yeah.
It was, and afterwards, he he said he gave a little sort of speech to the audience, and he said, travel is so important. We should all travel, and then when you travel, you meet different people and you share the same things, even if you don't speak the same language, something
Mhm.
like that.
Yes, of course.
He
Yes.
said, I met this girl in Winnipeg, and here we are together, singing this
Hmm.
song. It was a really amazing moment, and really
Wow.
made me think how important it is to travel and to learn, and that we have so much in common,
Hmm.
even though we don't speak the same
Yeah.
language. It's
Speaking about the language,
yeah.
yeah. Um, Christine, what's your take on this music as a universal language? Since you had all those experience, you began to appreciate music as a binding factor. For all the
Yeah.
people, it connects everyone, especially travel, right? Travel and music. What's your take on this music as a universal language for our viewers and listeners?
Oh, it absolutely is. Like in in all my travels, I think my violin, my love of music has ca- caused me to meet so many different amazing people. Uh, in 2009, I walked the Camino de Santiago in Spain,
Mm.
northern Spain,
Yeah.
and that was my first big trip. I was away from home for 6 weeks, and I just walked across Spain. I met people there from all over the world. I would sit down to dinner with people,
Mhm.
like one day, for example, a lady from France, a man from El Salvador, two
Oh,
gentlemen from Germany. None of us spoke the same language, but we had the best conversation ever. It was amazing
yeah.
because I asked the men from Germany, "Do you know the Scorpions?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, we love the Scorpions." And then we were singing song lyrics to each
Wow.
other.
Yeah.
It was so fun. Music. Uh, and then I've traveled with my violin across Europe, meeting different people, and and just, even if you don't speak the language, you can still jam together.
Mhm.
When Alfie brought me to the Philippines for the first time, and I met all of his batchmates and his former bandmates, and we in rehearsals, even though I didn't understand what they were talking about, when we started rehearsing and playing music together, oh, we just fell into step. It was
Yeah.
so great, like,
Yeah.
you know,
As if
and the
there's no
jokes and
boundaries, when you're
no,
playing, no language can, can stop
no,
you. Yeah, just yeah.
yeah,
So
it really brings people together. I agree with that
mhm,
100%. And yeah, I have a blog, actually, a travel blog that I haven't really been writing in lately, but I
mhm.
called it "Have Fiddle Will Travel." So
Okay. So
it's,
you're a blogger
yeah,
too, huh?
yeah, it's kind of old and rusty right now, but it was instead of writing emails back home when I was away,
Yeah.
to tell my parents I was okay,
Okay,
to
that's just your way to
uh
tell them you're
I
okay. Yeah.
yeah, I wrote one blog entry and everybody can read it, instead of
Mhm.
writing like three or four or five letters to a
Yeah.
bunch of different people. You
Yeah.
write one blog entry. Everybody read my blog.
It's for
Okay, I'm
everybody.
safe.
Yeah. Yeah. Mga kaibigan,
Yeah,
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 Christine Mazur here. There's so much to talk about, and uh, this lady here, Christine Mazur, she's an artist of all sorts. She loves to travel, and we all heard from her the importance of music as a universal language. It binds and brings people together, and her experience with the Filipino music community na nakikita naman natin, no, very consistent si Christine to learn the Filipino language as well as the culture, through music, mga kaibigan. But since we don't have all the time, Christine, and I know it's always
yeah.
bitin. When we say bitin, we don't really mean we cut you short, but it's really there's a lot more to talk about. But you can always reach Christine through her. You're active on Facebook, uh, not
I am.
usually, yeah. Yes, so you can,
Sorta. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Just go see
Say
Christine.
hello.
Say hello to Christine on Facebook. She has will it's posted here on this page her links to her uh short films that she made. She's a director, film director as well, and a musician. She played with Half Man Half Elf with Alfie and Giboy. So we have all the links here, mga kaibigan. And as usual, how do we end
Uh,
our Raw and Rare podcast? We always end it with some music, right?
yes.
Let's all hear it from Christine. She's got
Would you
something.
like me to play a song?
We would love to see you and hear you play a song. All right. Before we end this show,
Okay.
once again, Christine Mazur, maraming salamat for guesting tonight. The honor is mine.
Maraming salamat for the opportunity to talk and to get to know you better, Julius. Nice to
You too,
hang out
you
with
too.
you.
Yeah, one time when this, the pandemic's
Yeah,
done, we'll do it. We'll jam once again. Then yeah, we'll go out and
we
play live
will
gigs.
jam. We
Yeah,
need to jam.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So guys, stay tuned for more exciting episode only here on Raw and Rare Podcast, where you hear it, see it, and feel it. We'll see you all next time. Mabuhay tayong lahat. Here's Christine Mazur once again, mga kaibigan.
amo si para luman nang kayo ay bata pa at ang galing-galing mo sumayaw makabugi man o cha-cha ngunit ang paborito ay pagsaya mo ng El Bimbo nakakaiba nakakaaliw nakakaintindi balahibo pagkagaling sa eskwela ay diretso na sa inyo at buwang maghapon ay tinuturuan mo ako magkahawak ang ating kamay at walang kamalay-malay na tinuruan mo ang puso ko na umiibig at duhay naninigas aking katawan pag-umikat na ang plaka sa isang problema ang iyong mga mata lumiliwanag ang buhay habang tayo'y nakaantay at dahan-dahang dumudulas ang kamay ko sa makinis mong braso sana noon pa man ay sinabi na sa iyo kahit hindi na uso ay ito lang ang alam ko magkasawang ang ating kamay at walang kamalay-malay na tinuruan mo ang puso ko na umiibig na tunay lumipas maraming taon di na tayo nagkita palit ako'y may anak ka na ngunit walang asawa tagahugas karahaw ng pingan sa may ermita at isang gabi nasagasahan sa isang madilim na eskinita lahat ng pangarap ko'y bigla lang natunahan sa panaginip na lang pala kita may sasayaw magkahawak ang ating kamay at walang kamalay-malay na tinuruan na